If you'd like to support Three's a Crime and get some extra perks, like early releases and bonus episodes, consider giving at patreon.com/Three's a Crime podcast.
Hello and welcome. Thank you. Well, what the fuck? We'll just restart that. Blip, 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 blip. Here we go. Hello and welcome to Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast. I'm Tori.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Lindsay.
And that's our intro.
Here we are professional podcasters.
We're podcasters, bitches. Let's do this! Hello and welcome!
Welcome, bitches!
To another episode of Three's a Crime, a true crime podcast.
That was a lot of energy for you, and I'm proud.
Okay, boys and girls.
Here we are today.
Who we are. Here we are.
Tell us your stories.
So, this is the story of Brittanee Drexel. It's funny, I remember hearing this story. I think I heard it in 2020. I don't know how I think of time anymore, but I remember hearing it driving to Brittanee's house because it was around the point that I thought it would...
Different Brittany.
Yeah, my friend Brittanee. I was driving to my friend Brittanee's house, and it was one of the times where I went, and I'm like, oh my God, I just heard this podcast. It's this crazy story. And, she's like, wow. And I'm like, I need someone who's not you to talk about with these things.
It is not for everybody.
Yeah, so it's a crazy one. So 17-year-old Brittanee Drexel disappeared on April 25th, 2009 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Myrtle Vegas!
Do
you know, in Myrtle Vegas, I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be a bar where they had a DUI machine in it, or a breathalyzer machine in it. And
that's
so
brilliant.
You'd put it $1 or $2 or however much it was, and you'd blow, and then it would tell you what your blood alcohol was.
That's amazing.
That's
Love
amazing
that.
and terrifying.
Yes.
Both, yes.
Weird side note, tomorrow is April 25th.
Oh.
She was born in Rochester, New York on October 7th, 1991 to her mother Dawn and her father John, who was of Turkish descent. John... Lord...
That is not our theme song, guys. That is an actual siren.
Yeah.
Yesterday there was a big fire.
Did I not say it? I think we have a fire bug in Spokane. I think we got somebody setting fires. Because there have been a lot over the last couple of weeks.
And very random.
And random. It was yesterday, it was a bunch of pallets next to an Office Depot or something.
Oh, yeah.
So Brittanee's dad, John, left the family when Brittanee was a baby. A few years after Brittanee was born, her mother, Dawn, married a man named Chad Drexel, who ended up adopting Brittanee, which is how she got her last name. Chad was in the military, and after his military service ended, the family moved to the Rochester suburb of Chili. It's spelled Chili, Chili, which was also a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Oh, interesting.
In case you're wondering.
Fascinating.
Brittanee took a liking to soccer really early, and she was really good at the sport, along with being really quick despite her small stature at just 5 feet tall and 103 pounds.
Aww.
She was a little nugget.
She was a cute little nugget. Brittanee was born with a rare eye disorder called persistent hyperplastic primary vitreous in her right eye, which required several surgeries and left her blind in that eye, and she wore a contact to keep it from, wandering. Apparently that's a thing that happens, because the eye isn't focusing, so the muscle weakens and atrophies, and it,
That's with you do that for a lazy eye, don't you?
Yeah.
If you want to kind of
And if you look at pictures of her, she had colored contacts in all the time, so she always had blue colored contacts. 2009.
I was gonna say
colored. I remember
they were so popular.
I wanted a pair so bad.
And my mom was like, "You don't need glasses. You're not getting contacts just for
I literally have
that.
brown hair and blue eyes. My mom was like, "You're not getting contacts."
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, "I want brown eyes." My mom was like, "No,
No, you don't.
that's stupid."
I wanted blue.
My friend growing up was Asian, so she had like these beautiful dark eyes and beautiful dark hair. And I remember she got green contacts, and I just thought they were like the bee's knees.
Oh yeah, green with.
They were like the bomb.
Yeah.
And you know, back then, like you could totally see that.
Oh
like,
yeah, it's
fake
like
as
you can see the
fuck.
pixels. That
Yeah,
make
you're
these
straight
little-
up like, how can you see? But so anytime you see pictures, she has like
her little
contacts in. She had aspirations of joining a career in nursing, cosmetology, or modeling. Brittanee loved makeup, hair, clothing, and was a hashtag material girl.
Oh wow.
I put that.
Okay, I was like, was this in the article? Where the fuck did material?
No, that's
okay.
straight from me.
Oh.
She was the hashtag material girl. Dawn and Chad Drexel separated in 2008, and Chad said that it aggravated the depression from which Brittanee had long suffered. So the 17-year-old junior at Gates Chili High School was not only struggling in her academic performance, but her passion for soccer was also noticeably lessening after her parents split up. And this only worsened when her parents initiated divorce proceedings in 2009. She continued to live with her mother, Dawn, but kept in super close contact with her father, and she had an on and off boyfriend named John Greco, or Grico, Grieco. So, girlfriend's 17. Her parents are getting divorced. She has this on and off boyfriend, like I said, and so they're kind of like at odds with each other. And she's just an all around kind of angsty teenager who also has depression, right?
Yeah.
But spring break was coming up. So she was like, this is a chance for me to just like go turn off for like a weekend and it's going to be great. A bunch of kids from her school were going to make a 13-hour drive to Myrtle Beach. And of course, she wanted to go. But Brittanee was a junior. And I don't know about anybody else, but we didn't have spring break vacations we had spring break, but it's not like people were like, oh, we're gonna like drive to California. And like, it wasn't, you didn't like travel for spring break.
Yeah, not like
Not
on the
until-
fucking OC or whatever. No, not the OC. What do you call it? Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
We're not a Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
We did go. There is. I don't know if it still is, but there was a tradition at the time that I graduated high school that when you graduated, you went down to Ocean City, Maryland, for a week, and that was senior week.
I think it
That's
also
fun.
is
That was
maybe
after
like
we graduated.
Yeah.
I think it's also probably like, I assume like a warm coastal thing. Like we
I was
live in the
gonna say,
Pacific
yeah.
Ocean where like it's cold as fuck in the middle of
Right.
summer.
Yeah.
So like I assume Florida, South Carolina, you know,
Yeah.
that the east side would maybe be
Well,
more.
and Myrtle Vegas is definitely your little, you know,
Where is that? What is Myrtle Vegas?
Myrtle Beach.
Oh, why do you call it Myrtle? It's just because there's like a strip.
I mean, well, there is.
I mean,
but
I go into it. So I'm
it's
curious.
just
I've never
like
been there.
Myrtle Beach. So it's kind of like the Atlantic City of the South.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
jokingly,
Got
we
it.
called it Myrtle Vegas.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't far.
It's like
from
Seattle.
Charleston.
Is it like Seattle for
I mean, I don't
us?
even think it was. I don't know. I think it was like an hour.
Oh.
Like it was pretty.
Did you
close.
live here in 2009 in Spokane?
Yes,
When did you live in South Carolina?
from 1999 to 2007.
Oh, so literally right before this.
Mhm.
Well, we didn't have like spring break vacations where you traveled, so
Yeah, we didn't. Our parents didn't have the money.
If-
My
yeah.
parents didn't have the money.
yeah. Same.
Yeah.
So Brittanee is a junior, but apparently only seniors really go. So maybe that's
Okay.
like
Oh,
after you
yeah,
graduated.
yeah.
The people that she was planning on going with were all older than her. And because of that, none of them were really like super good friends. Like
Mm.
when people were interviewed later, they were kind of like, yeah, I mean, like she kind of knew these people, but it's not like they were like
There's
spending the
no
night at each other.
BFFs.
Yeah, they're not like best friends. So when she asked her mom, Dawn, she's like, listen, I know it's 14 hours away. Can I go? Her mom was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You will not be going. She's like, I really don't feel comfortable with that. There's no chaperones. It's real far away. Ugh.
You're the only junior.
Yeah. She basically begged her mom to go, but Dawn would not budge. Even Chad backed up Dawn and was like, dude, this is risky business. Like,
Mhm.
I really don't think you should go. Her mother later said that she said no because she just had a feeling that something really, really bad was going to happen. And she said that she just knew that this whole thing was a really bad idea. Finally, Brittany gave up and she was like, you know what? Fine. I just won't go. Instead, can I stay at a friend's house for a few days in Rochester?
So she's like, I'm just gonna stay at a friend's house, but I'm actually gonna get in a car and drive with a bunch of 18-year-olds that I don't know because I'm young and I'm stupid and I think I'm gonna get away with it and I'm dumb.
So,
Wow, was this a personal experience of yours? Because the way you just said
Oh,
it
hell yeah,
sounded
man.
like...
I made a lot. How many times I was like, I'm just gonna stay at Michelle's house this weekend. And literally we were out like...
Well, yeah, that's bad.
I also said that I was gonna... I also told my mom at one point that Amanda and I were going to stay at Michelle's house when really we were driving to Pittsburgh to meet some guy named Bert that my friend had met on the internet.
I was going to say on the internet. Oh my God,
And
Bert!
then we go back to their apartment, which is in a garage, like in a literal like parking garage. And the first thing his roommate Ray says to me is, "Notice that there are no windows, so there'll be nobody to hear you scream." Oh man, Michelle was so mad at me. She didn't talk to me for like a week. She was so pissed. She was like, "You guys are so dumb. They could be serial killers."
oh my God.
She was right. She had every
Yeah.
right to be pissed,
Yes.
especially
Yeah.
because we brought her into the lie by saying that we were staying at her
Yeah.
house. She was not happy.
I wouldn't be. I guess, yeah, if you put it like that, if you're definitely part of a lie.
Yeah, that you didn't have... Yeah.
She said I was just going to stay at my friend's house for a few days in Rochester. And her mom agreed, as long as she could talk to one of the parents first. Of
Oh,
course.
this is going to be a very Ferris Bueller situation.
When mom
Yeah.
called, one of the friends pretended to be mom, and Dawn was like, okay, fine, you can do that. The group of friends was actually going to go to Myrtle Beach, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is the thing, though, is that, like, my friends would have done the same for me. Like, you know what I mean? Because it would have been
Yeah.
like, oh, your mom will let you go. Like, sure, I'll pretend to be, you know.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, you really don't think that anything bad is going to happen to you.
So here's the thing, though. Remember, she wasn't really with friends.
Oh, right. Shouldn't
Oh,
really
yeah,
know
yeah,
that.
yeah.
She was with just kind of older girls. The friends were two girls over 18, Jennifer Oberer and Alana Lippa. There were also their boyfriends on the trip, and Alana's boyfriend was Jennifer's brother. And then there were some other friends joining the group as well. Lots of boys. Definitely more boys, more male than female.
Oh, God.
The male to female ratio.
Was a little off. Brittany, again, had a boyfriend, right? And he was the only one who knew that she was going, and he knew not to say anything to her parents about it. He was gonna come.
Okay.
I knew you were. I knew he was invited, but he wasn't able to get the time off work. So he was like, he knew she was under a ton of stress. Her parents were getting divorced, and he was like, I think you should go, like, have fun.
Blow off some steam.
Yeah, I won't tell your parents where you are. He's like, you know, you're smart. You know what you're doing. You'll be fine. The plan was to make the trip in just a few days, and then she would call and text her mom frequently to keep her believing that she was just 15 minutes away, even though she was closer to 14 hours.
God damn. It's a lot of work.
Now, see, I never
Fire.
went that far.
14 hours. So on Thursday, April 23rd, the friends arrived at the Bar Harbor Motel in Myrtle Beach, which I also looked up, is a 2-star hotel that you can stay in for $49 a night.
I mean, like, so there are definitely nicer places in Myrtle Beach, but most people stay,
Especially as
you know,
17 and
there's
18-year-olds.
exactly. I mean, we
Yeah.
were, you know, I stayed in some crappy ones down there in my 20s. But there is like a whole street of these like sketchy ass little seaside motels.
And that's where I think they were, was on that strip.
And that makes complete sense that that's
Yeah.
where they would be.
And the $49 a night was now, so it might have been, I don't know, $39 in 2009.
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
they were.
The pictures are disgusting. The reviews
Yeah.
are horrendous. There's
Right.
apparently bed bugs everywhere.
Do you remember remember my story about going to the Chippendales?
Mm-hmm.
That was in Myrtle Beach.
Oh, fuck. It's disgusting. But everything
Yeah.
is really close by. That night, they went to one of those under 21 clubs called Club Kryptonite.
Oh, boy.
I have a photograph of
That's very
Club
early
Kryptonite,
2000s.
so you can get a vibe of what kind of building this
Did
is.
Three
Just-
Doors Down work
just-
there?
Doesn't this look like a medieval dining place
Yeah, it
or
kind of
something?
does.
Like,
Oh my god.
It's closed now, but it's this super fab club.
It looked like a baseball hat.
By the power of Grayskull!
So that night, the night that they arrived, they went to that under 21 club, Club Kryptonite. And Brittany met up with a 20-year-old guy named Peter Brazowitz, who she knew from Rochester. They weren't necessarily like close friends, but like acquaintances. And she's like, oh my God, I know you. You're here. Blah, blah, blah. He's a 20-year-old club promoter in 2009.
Oh my God.
So Peter Brazowitz, like, how do you think he looks? Like, what do you picture a 20-year-old club promoter in 2009 to look
Slimy
like?
black.
Yeah, I'm
slimy
thinking
slick
black hair, dark hair,
Is it?
open collar.
Oh my god.
Did I
You
call
said-
that,
you
or
said
did I call
a
it
tiny
collar?
Ron from Jersey Shore.
Yes.
That is
like
like
a tiny
Ron's little
Ron from
brother.
Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
And
Oh
then
my god.
this is another, like, the puka shell necklace.
Oh my god,
yeah,
yes.
We will
Yep.
obviously put these photos up, but like when I read
He's
20
prime. He's prime Myrtle Vegas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Prime 2009 club promoter in
Myrtle
Beach.
Vegas.
Yeah. That is hilarious. So Peter was at Club Kryptonite with 4 guys. More guys. Okay.
Jesus. Okay.
Matthew Abrams, Philip Watson, Keith Cummings, and Anthony Schmizzy.
Oh, schmizzy.
Oh, Schmizzy. All 5 of these guys were
Why
staying...
does that like? That's a nickname. That's not a last name. That's a nickname.
That's
I call him the schmiz.
the
Yeah,
schmiz, the
schmiz.
schmizmeister.
All 5 guys were staying at the Blue Water Resort about 1.4 miles from the Bar Harbor Hotel Brittany and her friends were staying at. They just hung out for a little bit, went back to their respective hotels. The next morning of Friday, April 24th, she was texting her boyfriend back in Rochester saying she really wasn't having fun. So this was day 2 of the trip. And again, these people aren't really her friends. And what you kind of find over time, like what you kind of feel like happens, is it seems like maybe these girls invited her as like, definitely,
To fuck with.
yeah, like definitely.
To have somebody to be
to fuck
up
with.
upon.
Or
Like,
or to have to like do their shit for them.
Yeah.
You know, like
yeah.
oh, you should go get us a drink, or
Yeah.
you should.
It's
you know.
just, yeah. So she was like texting her boyfriend. She's like, they're just kind of being like assholes to me. They're drinking a ton. They're doing like coke and shit. I don't quote
Good
me on that. I
God.
can't say they did coke. I didn't find that anywhere. But she was saying like they're
Well,
doing some
they're
drugs.
partying
and stuff,
pretty
and-
hard.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
and she's like, man, like I kind of just wish I wasn't so far away because like I'm really like not having fun here, and I wish that you were here.
oh, I hate that feeling.
And you're trapped because you're 14 hours. Like, what are you
Yeah.
gonna do? How are you gonna get home
Can't
otherwise?
talk to your parents.
Yeah, and her boyfriend was like, and at this point, it makes more sense for her to just stay than for someone to drive 14 hours to come get her. It's not like she
Right.
went there with her own car or anything. So he's like, that sucks. Just try and like have fun, like try and have a good time. Brittany was also spending a lot of time alone because she was just like, I really don't want to be around them. She was going to the beach by herself. She was going to restaurants by herself, and she was just kind of waiting it out till she got to go home.
God, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It really does, especially after you've like really put your shit on the line too,
To
like
like be
not
here,
get
and now
caught.
you're like,
yeah,
well, fuck, man.
Yeah.
So that Friday evening, she was walking down. I called it the Strip. I don't know if anyone. That's kind of like the vibe I got was the Strip of janky hotels by the beach.
Mhm.
So she was walking down the street by herself, and remember, she's in Myrtle Beach on spring break. So anyone and everyone is
Yeah.
there, and I'm picturing like gross dudes like sticking their head out the window, like
Oh, totally.
yeah, like just being disgusting. Oh, I said. I'm so funny. I said, I'm
Oh my
picturing gross
God.
men screaming out of their lifted truck windows. So she is walking down the street and she ends up seeing a younger guy kind of around her age. And she walked up to him and was like, hey, these guys are being super fucking weird. You seem like a nice dude. Will you like walk me down the street? He was like, totally. He was a good guy. Nobody worried. He was from the Midwest. He was a good Midwest boy.
Oh, thank
Right.
God.
Yeah. As soon as I found out where he was from, I was like, he's not going to do anything. So he ended up just being kind of close to her age, and he was like, yeah, totally. Like, I'm sorry that people are being shit. So he walks her back to her hotel, and when she gets to the hotel, the girls aren't there. They're out fucking doing whatever. And she's like, do you want to come back up to my hotel and, like, hang out for a little bit? And again, like, they didn't do anything. It was just them hanging out. There's some cell phone footage of him being like, hey, Brittany. And she's, like, out on the balcony, like, texting. And she's like, hey, like, totally innocent, whatever. I mean, they became friends because he's from the Midwest.
right.
I mean,
you know.
He's basically Canadian.
Yes.
Yeah.
So The next morning, the following morning, April 25th, Saturday, April 25th, around noon, Brittany went down to the beach with Peter, 20-year-old club promoter, and his 4 friends. And they went out to the beach for a couple hours, and Peter, who had a car, the boys there had a car that they were sharing. Peter drove her back to her hotel before going back to his for the night. So she called her mom once around 2 p.m. and told her mom that she was at the beach because where she was staying apparently was close to the Lake Ontario shoreline. So, like, she kind of, it was like 85 degrees that day. She's like, cool, you're at the beach. Obviously didn't know she was at Myrtle Beach. Thought she was like 10 minutes away. She was not. And the last thing she said to her mom before getting off the phone was, Mom, I'll see you tomorrow. I love you. So, this is where things get a little weird.
Oh, God.
Okay. I'm going to go like time by time, but a lot of it is just based off of CCTV and that kind of thing, so we don't know all of her whereabouts.
Is it time after time?
Time after time. That was a nice moment.
Lost, you can,
And you will find me.
Time after time.
That was...
like,
Are we a band?
we're a band.
We're
a
a
band.
fucking band now.
3AC.
Band. Love that.
Band.
Podcast
So-
and band. Book us today.
We will not sound good if you book us as a band.
No.
We'll not.
But it'll be
I mean, you
fun.
can book us. We'll take your money, though.
We'll just sit there
Hell
like,
yeah.
ah.
I'll just sing a bunch of Linkin Park that I can remember.
Lindsay's
Because I
just
just
in the
screamed.
background.
Yeah.
Okay, so this day, Saturday, April 25th. So around 8 p.m., Brittany borrows a pair of shorts from one of those 2 girls.
No.
And
It's never good.
that was funny.
Wait, did she have permission?
I think it's funny that when I said she finds some dude in the street and like asked him to walk around, you guys are just like, yeah,
okay.
but then I'm like, when she borrows a
borrows
pair of
some
shorts, Lindsay's like, oh,
Oh,
fuck. Oh, some bad shit's gonna go down.
Because we know what bitchy girls are
Yeah,
like.
I was gonna
Girls
say.
I would
older-
trust a
bitchy girls.
20-year-old club promoter
She-
more than I would trust
Yes.
a teenage
She,
girl.
I believe did
Yes.
get permission. It was
Okay.
like, hey, we're going out. Those shorts are really cute. Like,
Yeah.
go get my outfit or whatever. Can borrow them. She's like, sure. So at 8 p.m., she borrows a pair of shorts from her friend. I assume she was allowed to, and planned to meet up with 20-year-old club promoter Peter. I have to add that his name is not Peter. It's 20-year-old club promoter Peter.
I
Okay.
think that's appropriate.
It is,
appropriate.
yeah. So she planned to meet up with him, and I had heard it was because when he had dropped her off earlier at her hotel, she left her flip-flops in his car. So she's like, hey, can I come over really quick and like get my flip-flops? And he's like, sure.
That's what they always say. I just
So-
need my flippity flaps.
So at 8:15 p.m., Brittany is seen on a traffic camera walking alone and texting on her phone. We find out later she was texting her boyfriend, John, and she was also texting Peter. So she was just walking the 1.4 miles to get them back. You can see CCTV footage of her walking into the hotel lobby and going into the boys' room. She's wearing a very 2009 white, gray, and teal tank top, flip-flops, black shorts, and a beige purse.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah,
she looked
that's
like
very
walking in
early
very
2000s.
2000 2009. So you see her walking in. We know that she went into the boys' room for about 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, you see her exiting the hotel. She was leaving because while she was in the room, she received a text message from Jennifer. The black shorts were apparently Jennifer's, and Jennifer sent her a text saying she wanted them back right now.
Oh, wow.
And Brittany is
Wow.
like, well, I'm a mile and a half away. Can I give them to you tomorrow or whatever? She's like, no, I need them now. And she's like, you want me to walk back right now
That's
and
why
give them to you?
the other reason I said, oh, no.
And why I said, did she have permission?
So
Oh.
she's like, no, I need you to bring them back to me right now. Brittany's like, why would you let me borrow them if you're just gonna ask for them back after I've walked a mile and a half away?
Yeah.
So at 8:48 p.m., annoyed and frustrated, Brittany leaves and heads back to her hotel. It is after dark at this point. It's 8:48, almost 9 p.m. I put it into my Apple Maps, and it would take 30 minutes to walk from the boys' hotel back to hers, and it would have just been a 5-minute drive.
Hmm.
So why did nobody drive her?
Yeah.
Right? So she's walking by herself. While walking back, she's texting her boyfriend, John, again, saying how miserable she is. She's like, I am just fucking ready to come home, dude. I'm not even gonna go out tonight. We're coming home in the morning. I'm just gonna walk straight back to the hotel, pack my shit, and go to bed. And I'm gonna be home tomorrow. At 8:58 p.m., so 10 minutes later, she sends her last text message to John. There's no sign of her on any CCTV footage between the Blue Water Resort and Bar Harbor Hotel. After a few minutes of not responding, John starts to kind of panic a little. He knew she was out walking by herself, and the fact that she wasn't responding, he was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So by 9 p.m., he's frantically texting her and telling her, like, if you don't respond to me right now, I'm going to call your parents and tell them everything. Because he knew, like, she was going to be like, no, please don't do that. And when she didn't respond to that, he's like, oh, fuck. So he immediately calls her mom. And he's like, she's in Myrtle Beach. Something's wrong. I can't get a hold of her. Like, there's something wrong.
God, can you imagine as a parent the terror that would fill you?
Yeah.
No, because here's how I assume the conversation going. Like, there's something wrong with Brittanee. I can't get a hold of her. And then the mom's like, okay, well, she's 10 minutes away. Like, let's go find her. And then he's like, oh, also, she's in Myrtle Beach. Now mom is like, so we can't get a hold of her. And she's also literally like a day away.
Forever away.
Oh my God.
Rue
is playing with a cat. If you've been listening to us for a while, you probably know that all three of us are obsessed with our dogs. Something you might not know is Tori and I actually met through a rescue organization. Between myself, Tori, and Lindsay, we have 9 dogs, so you know what that means. We need a lot of toys in our house. We are so excited to announce that we have partnered with BarkBox. I have been a loyal BarkBox customer for, I think, 5 or 6 years now. My dogs are crazy, insane chewers, so I actually had to upgrade them to their Super Chewer box, and my dogs are obsessed with it. They literally recognize the package and, like, growl at me until I open it, and they get a new one every single month. They know, you guys. They know. I know Tori and Lindsay just signed up for theirs, and their dogs are loving it. I'm telling you, the people probably love the toys more than the dogs, but I don't even care. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen, watching them get so excited over new toys. Check out the link in our show notes to get double the amount of toys in your first box when you sign up for BarkBox today. Your doggos will thank you. So her mom was initially pissed for finding out her kids in South Carolina without her permission. But the anger quickly turned to fear when she realized that they could not only reach her, but she was 14 hours away from them. John is apparently amazing and had the cell phone numbers of Jennifer and Alana.
Wow.
I don't know how he, smart man, but
Yeah.
also 10 out of 10 for this whole family and the boyfriend. Like, the action they took as soon as girlfriend
They gave a
was
fuck.
yeah, like it went quick. So John had the phone numbers of the 2 friends and gave it to Dawn. Dawn called Jennifer and Alana, and neither of the girls answered. Jennifer and Alana are, still, I don't know,
Waiting for her shorts.
Yeah.
Being cunts.
Jennifer's still waiting for her shorts.
She's being a fucking bitch.
So John gives the phone numbers of Jennifer and Alana to Dawn. Dawn calls, neither girl answers, and Dawn leaves voicemails on both phones saying, you guys, do you know what happened to her? Do you know where she is? Do you know what's going on? To this day, Jennifer and Alana have never responded or spoken to anyone in Brittaney's family.
Oh,
Wow.
They never called her back at all. Like what the fuck?
holy shit.
Luckily, club promoter Peter did answer his phone.
Of course.
He tells her mom she was here for 10 minutes, and then she got a text from Jennifer about her shorts, and then she left. Like, that's all I know.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn called the police immediately, but red tape is stupid, and they needed
Yep.
someone physically in the state to file her as a missing person. So luckily, they had a family friend a couple hours away in North Carolina, also named John. There's like 3 Johns in this story. His name was John Hahn.
John Hahn.
John Hahn, who was willing to drive to South Carolina to officially report her missing. He was like 2 hours away versus like the 14.
Yeah.
The family at this point packs up their shit and they're all headed to South Carolina to find Brittanee. John Hahn is a motherfucking saint and not only filed the report, but he also went to her hotel to get a better
Wow.
timeline of like, because at this
Yeah.
point he doesn't know about the CCTV footage or anything.
Oh yeah, you don't think about that shit when you're
Right.
just-
Like he obviously
Yeah.
hasn't seen it or anything yet. She's been missing for like 12 hours. No, it's probably less than that. I don't know why I said 12 hours. Just don't listen to me. So when he's talking to the hotel
I think you're like, it may not have been 12 hours. Don't listen to me. I'm only the one telling the story.
Sometimes I say things and I'm like, I need to clarify that that's not an actual thing that's in the story. That's just me talking. So he went to the hotel to get a better timeline of Brittany's whereabouts and learned that she never actually arrived back at the hotel. So at some point between the hotels is obviously when she was picked up, and it's about 10 minutes from when she left the first one. As John Hahn is talking to police, he also tries to call the girls again, and of course, again, they don't answer. So they go to the room where Brittany was staying, and nobody was in there.
Well, I would think at this point they wouldn't know if maybe those girls were missing too.
Oh yeah, that's
You
true.
know, if they couldn't get a hold of them, maybe they thought
That's a good
all three
point.
of them were.
That's a good point.
We immediately go to fuck these girls.
Yeah, I'm
Because
immediately
of our
like,
drama.
fuck.
Like,
They were fine,
mean
by the way.
bitches.
They were out partying.
I was
That's
gonna
why
say,
they weren't answering.
I'm
the
sure
phone.
they texted her drunk and was like, "Let's have her bring her shorts."
That'd be so funny if you texted her and was like, I need my shorts back, like, right now.
It's funny.
Oh my
'cause
god, I'm going to.
I had a friend who, like, I gave a bunch of clothes to when I was, like, 16. I think she was a year older than me. And I gave a bunch of clothes to her, and I had accidentally given her, like, a pair of pants that I didn't mean to, like, put in the pile. And I asked for them back, and she told me no.
Oh.
She was like, no, you gave them to me. And I was like, but I didn't mean to give you those. She's like, sorry. And I was like, wow, that's super fun. Girls are fucking weird, dude.
Girls are mean.
Girls are weird
The
and
worst.
mean and like...
This is why I was always friends with a large amount of dudes.
Yeah, I was too. The police were the ones who called Alana, and Alana picked up when the police called.
I would hope so.
And they're like, we're the police. Brittanee Drexel is missing. You guys were the people who came with her here. Do you know where she is? And they're literally at a club. And Alana goes, we haven't seen her. I don't know where she is. And the police are like, didn't you come here with her? Like, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, I don't know. She just, like, went off and, like, did her own thing. I don't know where she is. So police call club promoter Peter and his friends again, and they start asking more questions to get a better timeline of the weekend. And so they told police they met up with her on Friday at Club Kryptonite, but something weird that I don't know if it matters or not, it was actually Thursday that they met with her at Club Kryptonite. So that's just an interesting little, I don't know if it was like an accident or like something more sinister. But he had the day wrong.
Okay.
What they learned from Alana was that her and Jennifer were planning on switching hotels that night and leaving Brittany in the hotel room
By herself?
by herself.
What a fucking cunt bag.
And not switching rooms. They were planning on switching hotels.
like actual hotels. Were they planning on leaving her in fucking Myrtle Beach too?
I mean, okay, so
Sounds like it.
again, like it's all the only facts I have are like what they've said, you know. So like
Yeah.
I'm sure they were like, oh yeah, she knew about it, but like it really seems like
No. I'm going to say as Mean Girls go, they were going to leave.
Well, and why wouldn't? And here's the other thing too, though. Weren't they supposed to be leaving that day? Like,
That's the other thing was like, they're
Why would they
leaving, and
be-
why would you?
Yeah.
why would they spend their last night at a different hotel if they're just gonna leave? tomorrow?
right?
The story is really weird, and I'm just gonna. It's unsolved. Obviously, I mean, she's
Well, yeah,
disappeared.
nothing adds-
She.
So far, nothing. Is
I think I
making
know what
sense.
happened, and I'm curious if you guys will feel the same way when I'm done. But just weird little.
Mm-hmm.
So not only were Alana and Jennifer planning on switching hotels that night, at 2 a.m. at the Blue Water Resort, club promoter Peter and his friends left to go back to Rochester. At 2 a.m.
You
After they
decide
were
to go
probably-
to Myrtle Beach at 2 a.m. You don't decide to leave Myrtle Beach at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
This was a couple hours after they found out Brittany was missing.
Ooh.
They left
Doesn't
their
look good, kids.
they left their deposit and tons of items in the room. Clothing,
Oh.
So
things
they
like that.
Just
They was on the run.
My
Sorry.
They was on the
That was
run.
great.
I don't
I love
really
that.
know
That
where
was
that
a 10 out
came
of 10. I'm
from, but-
obsessed with that. So interesting that they all left back home for 2 a.m. So here's the thing. I could see how there could be two sides to this. I think these people are shady. I'm just going to put that out there. But the other argument is like they're a bunch of teenagers. A girl went missing. What if they're like, oh my God, Jesus Christ. Like a girl went missing. Like we should probably go home.
I mean, maybe, but
They all
you
seem-
would take your shit. Like, the fact that they were just
And
like,
teenagers leaving a deposit somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That was the
Right,
other thing. I
like,
was like,
As
they
an
left
adult, I won't leave a
the
deposit
deposit,
somewhere,
right?
let alone
Yeah.
when I was
I mean,
17.
it's, I feel
that
nefarious
gives them
activities.
that gives them too much credit that I don't
Yeah.
think they deserve.
No, not at
Both
all.
the girls and the dudes.
As soon as they got back to Rochester, Peter got a lawyer, which some people also think of as suspicious. Me personally, if they were like, "Hey, Lindsay went missing while you were in Myrtle Beach," I would definitely be like,
Yeah, I'm getting
a lawyer.
Like, yeah.
So,
But it does
still
look
weird.
shady.
It's
yeah,
weird.
it's still weird because have the police like even talked?
They
to
haven't even
them?
said she's been missing for a day now.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, he was one of the first people that they looked at, but he was eventually cleared.
Interesting.
I don't know how he was cleared, but he was cleared. He was a person of interest. I'm sorry, not a suspect.
Okay.
Immediately looked at as a person of interest, but he was eventually cleared.
Well, because I mean, evidence-wise, she's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
She's seen on video leaving.
Mm-hmm. So the next day on Sunday, Dawn, Chad, her biological dad, John, her boyfriend, John, and Dawn's parents all went to Myrtle Beach to hand out flyers
John
and search
Dawn.
for
Is
Brittany.
it me or is anybody else
John and
getting
Dawn.
like Natalie Holloway vibes?
Oh my God, I haven't heard the Natalie Holloway story in a long
Yeah.
time.
They were in Aruba,
Yeah.
and she was with the two guys, and they were like, "Oh, we dropped her off."
That's right. That's a long time ago I heard that story. So once they all arrive in Myrtle Beach, they find that there's been zero activity on her bank account, debit card, or text messages or calls going out from her phone. No
Which
activity.
is not normal for a teenage girl.
Right. But when they start looking into cell phone pings, they find it ping. So remember, let's see. The time of her last text message was 8:58 p.m. So they find that at 9:27 p.m. her phone pinged going south on Route 17 on the way to Surfside Beach about 7 miles away. The pings showed her phone were moving fast enough to have been in a car. So either she was in a car with her phone or her phone was moving in a vehicle. More pings were shown at 10:18 p.m. and the last one was at 11:58 p.m. where her phone pinged for the last time 40 miles away in Georgetown County before the phone shut off completely. This area is close to a boat landing on the North Santee River and is completely desolate with tons of alligators, snakes, boars, and other wild animals.
Oh my God.
Right.
The pings showed that the driver took the phone straight to this location. There was no stopping. There were no U-turns. They're like straight to this location. Whoever took her there knew exactly where they were going. After 11 days of searching with helicopters and dogs, they found nothing, and the family was forced to return to Rochester. And 1 month after Brittany went is that right? Okay. A short time after Brittany went missing. It says 1 month, but I want to say it was longer than that. I don't know. Sometime after Brittany went missing, a man named Sean Taylor was arrested trying to abduct a 20-year-old girl outside the Blue Water Resort at around 4 p.m. Now, remember, if she was plucked off the street, it would have been between 8:30 and 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Dark. However, I've never been to this strip, but I assume it's like fairly busy hopping at fucking 9 p.m.
What time of year was this again? Because
Spring break.
So it may not have been that dark at 8:30.
Okay. That's fair.
I haven't lived on the East Coast for so long. I can't really, because like here in the spring, summer, you know,
Right.
it's. But
Well, either way, like he allegedly tried to pick up this girl at 4 p.m., which is a weird time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Usually things like this are after dark.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Right.
just so remember how there were tons of Johns.
Yes.
There's also tons of Seans.
Oh no, Sean John.
It's gonna be fine. I got it all, but like just so you know. So Sean Taylor was arrested for trying to abduct a 20-year-old girl outside the Blue Water Resort, and that was the resort that Peter was staying at.
Oh yeah.
Weird.
Yes.
Allegedly, he and another man jumped out of a van and tried to grab her while she was walking on the strip. She got away, and he was arrested, but was let off because he had an alibi.
What?
I know. I couldn't really find more information. Like she was like, "Yeah, it's him," and he was like, "It's not." I wasn't, and he apparently had an alibi. I don't know what his alibi was.
That's so fucking weird.
So, here's where it gets really weird.
Oh, God.
About a year after this, another man. So the first man was Sean Taylor. This man's name is Timothy Deshaun Taylor. Was
Wow.
brought in and questioned by the FBI because several other people in the area had suggested they look into him for the disappearance of Brittanee Drexel.
Wait a minute, though. Is it a different guy or the same guy?
Timothy Deshaun Taylor is the son of Sean Taylor.
The
So
fuck?
Sean Taylor was allegedly the one who picked up the girl in the van, and people around town said you should look into his son, Timothy Deshaun Taylor, for the disappearance of Brittanee Drexel.
My God. What? These names. It's too much.
So Sean Taylor is mostly out of it. That was the only
Okay.
important part. Timothy Deshaun Taylor is the one we're going to stick with.
Fucking
Tim.
Tim.
Timmy. Little Timmy.
Tim.
Yes. 8 more months go by after this. Yeah, so he's brought in and questioned by the FBI, but he's like, I don't know who she is. I've got nothing. And it was just tips. They were like, you should look into this guy. We think he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
8 more months go by and nothing. No more evidence, no more information until they receive a tip. And the tip led them to the area of Georgetown where the phone had pinged, and they found a pair of sunglasses there. So they spent 11 days searching that
I was
area
gonna say.
with helicopters, dogs, and I think I read there were like 800 searchers, like a
Wow.
lot of people. And they didn't find any clothing, any jewelry, any shoes, any nothing. And they find this pair of sunglasses that were brand fucking new. They were swabbed for DNA, and there was none. So the theory is that whoever called in this tip had probably placed the sunglasses there as a way to lead investigators away from the location of the body. Or the other thing is they could be
Like,
Brittanee
hey,
Drexel's sunglasses.
look,
Yeah.
yeah.
They could have been bought and placed there. They could have been Brittanee Drexel's sunglasses, or they could be someone else's, and no DNA. They were obviously cleaned. So weird.
That's the weird.
That's
That's
the
also
weird
the
part,
weird
yeah.
part. Yeah.
So nothing happened again until 2016, 7 years after her disappearance.
My God.
Timothy Deshaun Taylor, the son, was brought in again in 2011 because he had robbed a Mount Pleasant McDonald's where an employee was shot twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mount Pleasant, Charleston?
I don't know.
Or Mount
Just
Pleasant,
as-
South Carolina?
Probably South Carolina.
Oh, that's real close to Charleston.
He served a few years probation because he was the getaway driver, which is funny because we were talking about what is it called? What's the term called?
Accomplice liability.
Yeah, thank you. So, but it was weird because other members of the robbery got like a ton of time, and this bro got like 14 months of probation. They robbed a Mount Pleasant McDonald's. Employee was shot twice, and he was only given a few years probation, is what it was. I think it was 2 years.
McDonald's
actually.
worth it, man. Come on. I mean, just poop it out.
So the FBI actually used this to bring him back in to talk about Brittanee because they originally questioned him. He's like, I don't fucking know anything. So they're like, he's already here. Let's just ask
see.
about Brittanee. So let's talk about Taquan Brown. Taquan Brown, at this exact same time that the FBI is questioning Timothy Deshaun Taylor, I'll just call him Tim. At the same time, an inmate at McCormick Correctional Institution in South Carolina named Taquan Brown, who was serving 25 years for an unrelated manslaughter conviction, sent a letter to officials saying he knows what happened to Brittanee Drexel. Don't you hate that? When you're right in the middle of a really good story and you're interrupted by a perfectly poorly timed commercial? If this ad is super annoying to you, you should probably head over to our Patreon, where you not only get bonus episodes, but all of the episodes you hear come with 0 ads. 0 ads means 0 interruptions. Head over to patreon.com/threesacrime-podcast to listen now. He claims to have seen her 4 separate times over a month. He said it involved being held captive, an assault, a gun, and alligators.
Oh my God.
Lindsay's face, she's like,
Oh.
They obviously talked to Taquan Brown. And here's the thing. They said, listen, if you want to tell us what happened to Brittanee Drexel, tell us, but you're not going to get any time off your sentence. We're not going to give you any deals. Like, if you
Wow.
tell us, you're just telling us to get it off your chest. We're not giving you anything for it. And he's like, I'm doing it. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Because the argument was he only did it,
Yeah.
but no time shaved off his sentence.
Wow.
He says that the people involved were, in fact, Timothy Deshaun Taylor and his father, Sean Taylor. Back in 2009, he says he went to a stash house in McClellanville, which is the same spot right around where in Georgetown County where her phone pinged for the last time. So he says he went to a stash house in McClellanville
I'm
It's
assuming by
where they keep their drugs
and
right?
guns and like
Yeah.
it's
That's kind of
a
what I assumed,
it's
but-
like a rundown. There was a I don't remember what documentary I watched, like 100 for this, but
like a
it
shithole to
showed
keep
the
your
house
shit.
and it was like definitely looked like a house in the middle of Hilliard with like toilets in the front fucking lawn.
No offense to our Hilliard fans.
I was waiting.
Yeah, but everyone in that there's like
There are
There-
definitely nicer
there's-
and less nice parts of Hilliard.
Spokane in general.
But I mean,
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that kind of house is just down the street from me. Like a couple
Dude,
houses down
literally,
is
like,
that kind of house.
3 streets down from me is like Ratchet City, so there's little pockets all over Spokane. It's fun.
It's true.
So he says in 2009, he went to a stash house in McClellanville. So he said he was going there to do a deal with Sean Taylor, some drug deal. And he said that as he walked through the house, he saw Brittanee. He said that she was tied up, being trigger warning. Hey, trigger warning. He said that she was tied up, being held against her will. She had a black eye and was being sexually trafficked by 8 to 12 other men in the house. I think I meant to say sexually, not trafficked.
Abused.
Yeah, but that wasn't. Yes,
But I was wondering if she was being.
I mean that has to do
That's
with
the
it too.
first
but
thing that popped in my head. I was
Yeah.
like,
that
oh,
she was trafficked.
yeah.
yeah. So he walks. He. Let me just set the scene. Picture a home with toilets all in the front lawn. There's car parts. There's maybe a fridge or two out there.
Just general like
Large mini cars
like
that are dead.
what was that show? The one that's like bum, bum, ba-na, bum, bum, ba-na-na-na-na. Do you know what I'm talking about?
But
Where
I
the
hate
guy
that I know
like
the song and I
guy
don't know what
lives.
show you're talking
But I
about.
can't think of the fucking name.
Oh my
I know who
god,
you-
Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
Because they had like a junkyard,
Mhm.
right?
So-
I couldn't remember the name of the show, but I'm like,
So he walks in and he sees her and I saw that she was like tied up to the wall.
Oh, fuck.
And let me tell you that it used a term that I ended up Googling and immediately regretted my choice. A term called bunnying, which is where someone is tied up and just gang
Being-
raped.
Oh.
Yeah, it was so that's in my history now. So
Mm.
he literally sees her and he's like, oh, it's cool, and just keeps fucking walking because he's there to do a drug deal.
Mhm.
And so he says he walked through the house. He walked back to finish his transaction with Sean, and while he was out there, he said Brittanee made a run for it. She fucking booked it out the back door.
Whoa.
He said men immediately chased her, pistol whipped her in the face, and then dragged her back inside the house.
Oh my god.
Brown said he heard gunshots coming from inside the house, and then he saw 2 men come out of the house with a rolled up rug, where they threw it into the back of a truck, and then he said that he saw them throw it into a pit of alligators. Later, this is a rough part. Ooh, girl.
Oh no.
Chad Drexel, her dad, told police that while they were in Myrtle Beach initially searching for Brittanee and handing out flyers, they were going on back roads and they were stopping cars that were driving by and being like, my kid's missing. Have you seen her? He said he was driving on a back road and he stopped a car full of a bunch of guys. And he said the guys in the back were whispering to each other. And as he's explaining that Brittanee is missing and he's her father, I'm here to look for her, he told police that he handed the driver the flyer and the driver crumpled it up, threw it at him, and they all drove away laughing.
Gross.
He noticed that the driver only had one arm. And when he found out when he talked to the FBI said that was Timothy Deshaun Taylor.
Oh my god.
And when he said, how do you know that was him? They said, well, not only he has one arm, in case you were wondering,
yeah.
but he told us that he saw you. When we questioned him and asked if he knew anything, he said you stopped him on the side of the road and handed him a flyer. And he was asked in an interview, did you crumple it up and throw it at him? And he's like, nope, I didn't do it. And Chad
Holy
Drexel, So for the father to come face to face with who ends up being the biggest part of this story is horrifying.
Especially after you realize.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
oh my God.
When Timothy Deshaun Taylor was asked about his involvement, he denied it again, and he was given a polygraph. During the polygraph, he told the FBI about an argument he overheard. This was the only
Truthful thing?
no, actually, but the only thing that would tie him to Brittanee Drexel. He's like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about her, but this is the one thing he said that had to do with her. So they gave him the polygraph, and he said he overheard an argument in June of 2016 between two people whose names had been redacted from the whatever it's called.
Case file?
Yeah. About one of them having Brittanee Drexel's cell phone. And the polygraph showed that he was telling the truth about the phone, but deceptive about the details.
Oh.
So, just an interesting... He failed the polygraph, like, with flying colors. But that was the only time he was seen being somewhat truthful, is he allegedly overheard a conversation about what people should do with her cell phone.
So weird.
Upon further interviewing, Taquan Brown, that prisoner, said 5 days after he saw the rolled-up rug get tossed into an alligator pit, he went to visit his cousin Herman in Jacksonboro to show him a car that he had just bought. The house was about 80 miles from McClellanville, where he said he saw the rug fiasco. He said when he got inside to his cousin's house, Brittanee was there and alive and sitting in a lazy boy chair
After
with two black eyes, obviously drugged. After the rolled up rug, hearing two gunshots inside, he thought it was her, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean,
you would assume she tried to run and then...
Brown told the FBI that in late May 2009, he and a friend were walking to his cousin Herman's house when they saw a group of men with Brittanee, including a man he only identified as Nate. He said he saw Nate shoot her with a double-barrel shotgun 2 times, and Taquan Brown and his friend just turned around and bounced. He said that it was like, there was like a forested area to the side of like this dirt road leading up to his cousin's house, and he said they just walked her in there, shot her, and they were like, okay, and turned around and bounced. So 4 times total he saw her over a month that she was alive. So he says he knows for a fact they put her body, or at least parts of it, into an alligator pit. Herman has since died of a heart attack, so we have no way of knowing his involvement. And one of the witnesses was murdered. And the friend who was with Taquan, who they both were like, no, we're not fucking doing this, was unable to be questioned because they couldn't... I don't know if they couldn't figure out who it was or couldn't find him or what. It was really vague, but they couldn't like corroborate that. But some witnesses have confirmed this story with the FBI. So it kind of seems like it would probably be the most logical answer. So the FBI has confirmed that they know she was held for a period of time and sexually assaulted before she was killed.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, just from what Taquan Brown said, I mean, he saw her 4 times over a month. And he said that she was alive. So, but they said that they know that she was sexually assaulted before she was killed. The FBI has also confirmed that several people saw her, assaulted her, and knew that she was there.
Wow.
Because she was being trafficked.
So basically his story was, so she wasn't actually dead the first time, but she's dead now.
I think his story was he thought that she was, like, he assumed that it was her the first time, and then apparently, I don't know what his cousin had to do with it, though. So I don't know.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's his story. At first, he's like, oh, she's dead. And then he comes back and he's like, well, she wasn't dead then, but now she's dead. Like,
I believe him more than any of them.
Taquan said, quote, after she was killed, some of her remains were buried in a garden, and after some time went by, they removed it from the garden area. He said when her remains were dug up, some were taken to an alligator pit, and some were placed in a stolen RV and taken to a scrapyard, which is an interesting way of doing things because you just drop it off at a scrapyard and the whole thing gets crushed. I was just
thinking that, how much shit is like in cars or whatever.
Interesting. A nearby neighbor's RV was stolen around this time.
Oh my God.
Another inmate corroborated this story by saying she was abducted from Myrtle Beach and taken to McClellanville to be trafficked, but when her face showed up everywhere, they had to kill her before they were caught. In 2016, Timothy Deshaun Taylor had a hearing about his 2011 McDonald's robbery fiasco, and during the hearing, U.S. Attorney Winston Holliday questioned FBI agent, I don't know if it's Jarek or Garrick, I assume it's Jarek, Munoz, about the robbery. So Munoz drops at this trial for McDonald's that he's also a suspect in the Brittanee Drexel case. So I have a theater time for you.
Okay.
There's 3 parts, so all 3 of us get to be in it.
Yay!
Is Timothy Deshaun Taylor a subject or target of your other investigation?
He's a target of another ongoing investigation now involving, again, kidnapping, human trafficking, and murder.
And where did this kidnapping, human trafficking, and murder take place?
It was in McClareville.
It was in McDonald's.
It was in McClareville,
McClellanville.
McDonald's. There's no McDonald's.
And as far as establishing evidence of what happened in McClellanville on these 3 potential charges, have you talked to people? What's the basis of your investigation at this point?
We've had several people have come up and give us testimony outlining Mr. Taylor's involvement in this particular case.
And if you would, what was Mr. Taylor's involvement in this case and the primary investigation? That's how I'm going to refer to the abduction and murder, is the primary investigation.
A direct involvement as far as actually, according to some testimony that we have, actually being the person to actually kidnap the individual.
And who is the individual who was abducted?
The individual was Brittanee Drexel.
And where was she abducted from?
She was abducted from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
And then once, as far as the abduction itself goes, is there evidence that Deshaun Taylor was involved in the abduction?
We do have witness testimony, yes.
And what did that witness testimony indicate to you, or what did it tell you?
Of his direct involvement with actually being with
I'd like to know. I'd like to know also if these witnesses saw it happen or heard it happen or what the basis is. We're getting into hearsay. Who am I?
So is that the
Johnny Depp's
judge?
Yeah, that's the judge. Okay.
Absolutely, Your Honor. As far as the first witness that you spoke to regarding the abduction, what was that witness? An eyewitness or somebody who the facts have been related to?
Yes, sir. The person was an eyewitness.
And what did that person see?
Okay. They actually saw Mr. Taylor with Brittanee Drexel at the point where she was actually being sexually abused.
Okay. And where was that taking place?
In McLeanville.
Was it at a house, an apartment, vacant lot, an automobile? Where was that?
It was at a stash house that they had. It wasn't somebody's permanent residence, but people did stay there regularly.
What kind of stash house are you talking about?
As far as this place, As far as this was a place that they would go and hang out. Not like a country club hang out for individuals. Yeah.
I had to leave that little gem in there.
Terrible.
But not like a country club.
Yeah. But this is a place where they would typically go and, just hang out and get away from their families.
You didn't mean stash house as in drugs? That's how the term of art is used in my mind.
There was some drug use in there that we know of, but that's not something that we're charging at this point.
And as far as the witness is aware, he actually saw Brittanee Drexel at the house.
Yes, this was actually an eyewitness. Yes.
And there was a sexual assault that was taking place when he went through the house.
Yes, and he actually, I think, just stated that he actually saw Mr. Taylor, sexually abusing Brittanee Drexel at the time that he came into the house with a couple of other gentlemen.
And was Mr. Taylor the only one who was engaged in that activity?
He was not. There were others. There. Wow.
And did this witness, how did events play out from there? Let me put it this way. Why was that individual at the house in the first place?
He was there for some financial, he was actually there, say financial, but he was there to give money to Mr. Taylor's father.
And his father, what's his name?
His father's name is Sean Taylor.
And the context of that financial transaction taking place between the witness and Sean Taylor, what transpired? Was that in the house or outside the house?
The witness that we have and said that he was with the father just outside the house, but he passed through the house to get to the other side. That's when he saw Deshaun Taylor and the others with Brittanee Drexel. During the course of their conversation, Brittanee Drexel ran out of the room. She was then described as pistol whipped and brought back into the house. At that point, the father, Sean Taylor, goes back into the house and actually he hears 2 shots fired. And he is assuming at that point that the father had actually shot the daughter or shot,
Jeez.
fuck, or he shot Brittany Drexel. And then Brittany Drexel was then wrapped up and taken away from the house.
And again, that's all events that this particular witness saw.
Yes, sir. This is the eyewitness testimony.
Have you made efforts to corroborate this version of events?
Absolutely, sir. We've been, of course, we had our press conference back in April, and we've been getting, tidbits of information from the community. But we also have other testimony that's coming in, secondhand information that is corroborating the story.
Okay, let's get into the secondhand information a little bit. But going into the next one, where did the next conversation take place?
Okay, this happened recently here up at Georgetown Penitentiary, where we interviewed a prisoner, and there are several more in line that has put Mr. Taylor, again, directly with Brittanee Drexel.
In what respect put him with her?
He was the one that actually picked her up from Myrtle Beach.
No, I'm saying, so you've got an inmate at the Georgetown jail, or you said penitentiary, I'm not sure.
I said penitentiary. I'm sorry. Georgetown Detention Center.
And there's an inmate who witnessed something or who heard about something?
He got it from somebody who saw it, so secondhand information.
And if you would, relate to the judge what that person related to investigators about what was seen.
Okay, he said that Deshaun Taylor actually picked her up from Myrtle Beach, brought her back down to McLeanville, showed her off, introduced her to some other friends that were there. And they ended up, from what we understand, without going too much into it and going through all the testimony, they ended up tricking her out with some of their friends, offering her to them and getting a human trafficking situation. And then when it became a problem, there was actually some press that came out with her disappearance that she was murdered and disposed of.
Was her body ever found?
Miss Drexel was never found, not yet.
Based on, did any witnesses tell you? And I also want you to tell the judge the basis for how they might have known. Did any witnesses tell you what happened to Miss Drexel's body?
Yes, several witnesses have told us that Miss Drexel's body was placed into a pit or a gator pit to have her body disposed of, eaten by the gators.
So these are witnesses not who saw it, but just who heard the body?
That is correct.
Great.
You are correct, sir. Judge.
All right. Is there anything else the judge needs to know? I know you stated at a certain level as far as the investigation goes. Have we omitted any witnesses that you'd like to inform the judge about regarding the circumstances here?
Again, everything that we've got right now is still secondhand information. But we are working on, again, we have some witnesses that are about to come forward that we believe have direct testimony. Firsthand information as far as they actually witnessed and saw that is going to put Mr. Taylor directly involved in that situation with Miss Drexel. And again, we feel that he is definitely a threat to the community. That's why we're here, and that's why I'm testifying.
End scene.
they were tricking her out.
Isn't that gross?
I've not heard that in so long.
Yeah. And that's
I,
that was his direct quote was like,
yeah.
they introduced her to their friends and tricked her
The
out.
first thing I thought was, we are tricking out a car. This is what
it's so gross. Like Pimp My Ride.
Yes, that's what I thought of. I was like, they're pimping
I know
my
that
ride.
you're probably going to get to this, but do we have any, like, had she met him, either of these men before during that week?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so not that, like, they would have pulled up and been like, oh, hey, Brittany, let us give you a ride home. So they would have had to, like, snatch her.
Yes.
Okay.
But what the theory is that we'll talk about more is some people think club promoter and the girls and all the boys
Set her up to be taken.
or something along those lines.
Okay.
Because the other thing is, like, she could have been picked for all, I mean, I'll just use Peter as an example. She could have been picked up by Peter, who took her all the way there and was like, hey, I have your flip-flops and I'll just drive you back to your hotel or whatever. I don't know what he did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are lots of people who could have just snatched her up off the street, whether it's someone she knew or not. While authorities brought federal charges against Timothy Taylor in hopes of spurring a confession never came. Timothy DeShawn Taylor's mother, who is Sean Taylor's wife, thinks this entire thing is nonsense. She pointed out that her son, she said, my son only has one arm. Like, she used that as, like, how would he get out of the car and, like, snatch her? And, of course, they're like, well, he could have been the driver. You know, he could have totally been involved without being the person who picked her up.
There's been a lot of dudes around this guy.
Yeah, so she pointed out, like, my son only has one arm. There's no way that he could have snatched her off the road. This story is just a bunch of craziness adopted by federal authorities desperate to solve the case. In 2019, the FBI searched Herman's home, that cousin, and found nothing. And I'm not really sure why it took them so long. I assume, again, because of, like, red tape. Because
that's what I was thinking.
Prisoner Guy came out in 2017. So then by that time, yeah, like 2 years to search the house. I don't know. So, and at one point, cadaver dogs hit on a scent near the Santee River where the phone was originally taken. And a private investigation group made up of retired homicide detectives, which, like,
that's
hell
awesome.
yeah. Were asked by local law enforcement to aid in the search for Brittanee, and they said that they found physical evidence buried in the dirt that ties Brittanee to that area, but the FBI hasn't looked into it because it wasn't found by law enforcement. Which sucks. Like, I get it because it's so hard because, like,
the rules put in place,
chain of custody issue,
because they have no way of knowing. You know, they have no. Like, I get it, but it's like, fuck. So it's just sitting. It's just sitting and hasn't been tested. And they're, like, trying to get the FBI to do something, and, like, they won't. So.
Jesus, fuck, man.
But, you know, I mean, like, on one hand, I get it, because they can't, like, they don't have
They don't know where it came from.
Right, it's et cetera. But at the same time, when, you know, somebody finds a body, you know, and calls it in, it's not like they're like, well, we don't know if there's really a body there, so we're not going to come out and look, you know? I mean, come on.
In May 2019, a home belonging to the Taylor family burned down. And it was right near the stash house mentioned by Taquan Brown.
Sure.
People think that this was the Taylor family getting nervous and destroying evidence.
What year was this?
2019.
And then was that after the search warrant for Herman's place?
It just says, I know that they searched Herman's home in 2019, and then in May was when the house burned down, so they must have done it earlier.
I'm wondering if that's what spooked them.
Well, yeah. I guess that time frame would totally make sense.
Yeah.
You guys are bringing up a lot of points that I hadn't thought of. There were no obvious signs of arson, but there was no power going to the house. Taquan Brown has filed a suit against Munoz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, and I'm sorry if I'm not. Because he claims that he told this to them in confidence, and by them putting his name out, he's saying that Timothy DeShawn Taylor now has a hit out on him for $15,000. So Taquan Brown has filed a suit against Munoz, Holiday, and other federal officials whom he said had publicly identified him. By doing so, they gave him a reputation as a snitch, which put his life in danger. And he claimed that Taylor's offered $15,000 to anyone who kills Brown, and that he's already been assaulted multiple times in prison. Timothy DeShawn Taylor issued a statement in response to Munoz's testimony about Brown's allegations. He said, quote, I had no involvement with anything to do with Brittanee Drexel. I don't know Taquan Brown, and I don't know why he would call my name. I'm being prosecuted again for a crime I already helped them solve and already did my time for, all because some guy in prison is trying to cut a deal. It's not fair to be charged for the same crime twice, and that's not how our system is supposed to work. And
Oh my
Timothy Deshaun
God.
Taylor claimed like double jeopardy. He was like, you can't do this. You can't try me for the same thing. And they're like, this is completely different. You're stupid. Um, And it's funny because I had heard about like a documentary where he had been questioned and I couldn't find it. And then I accidentally came across it on YouTube. I was like, oh, fuck, that's the one I was trying to find. And there's a part where he's being interviewed. In the interview, the interviewer says, do you want to say anything to Brittanee Drexel's family? And he says, I apologize for what happened to their family. And the interviewer goes, do you see how that could be perceived a little
Like
weird?
an admission
Yeah.
of guilt.
What happened to your family?
Yeah, and he was like, normally people would say like, I'm so sorry for their loss or like
Yeah.
something.
Mhm.
It's weird that you said I apologize for their family's loss or whatever he said.
You know, any evidence that's been made public, they believe you're involved. Anything that you would say to them?
I would tell them deeply I apologize for their loss, and I sincerely do apologize for their loss, and I honestly hope that they find who've done this and give them justice, but I honestly don't have anything or have any information. I've never saw her, I've never seen her, I've never been in a close space with her, I've never seen her physically, as I'm sitting here looking at you now, and I truly and truly deeply apologize for their loss. And if there's any information that I could find out, and as I was being cooperative with the FBI so far, I would continue to be cooperative with them.
People are going to hear that you said you apologize. I think they're going to misinterpret. Maybe they'll misinterpret the word apologize.
Yes, what I mean by that is I'm being sincere for
Isn't
their
it just,
loss.
it's
I
weird.
apologize for
Why
their
is he
loss.
talking like this?
Is
I
he
don't know.
drugged?
It's not anyone's fault that
Probably,
they
I don't
have
know.
a
That's what
loss.
it seems like to me.
Taylor's attorneys, David Ayler and Mark, I don't know if it's Pepper or Piper or Pepper, added that the federal government was engaged in a, quote, far-reaching and blatant abuse of the criminal justice system. Chad Drexel posted on Facebook after this whole thing. This is a gnarly post on Facebook. Quote, I would like to set the record straight with a strong reply to Joan Taylor's comments to the Post-Courier in South Carolina this past Friday. Based on evidence the FBI and the Myrtle Beach Police Department has gathered, along with facts and specific information gathered from a team of private investigators that I hired to work with law enforcement actively during the case, parentheses, which will soon come to light, we have no doubt that Timothy Deshaun Taylor played a significant role in the abduction and murder of my daughter. Of course, the mother of Timothy Deshaun Taylor is going to defend her son. As a father, I can understand a need to defend your children. What I do not understand is defending your children when you must know the truth. Her assumptions and words stated have been verified incorrect and couldn't be farther from the truth. We know Timothy Deshaun Taylor was witnessed by others, parentheses, witnesses not in jail, end parentheses, with my daughter. We're just praying that they do the right thing and step forward with what they know. Additionally, he has been seen and followed to be in the exact area where my daughter's DNA was found. Joan Taylor claimed that the FBI and government are falsely accusing her son because of witnesses in jail. Well, we have other specific evidence that I cannot disclose at this time for the safety of my daughter's case, which corroborates these testimonies. Timothy Deshaun Taylor is known to be involved in dogfighting, bringing drugs to parties, and raping women, parentheses, mostly Caucasian young women. He either picks up unwillingly or friends of friends that end up being drugged and taken there. This is only the beginning. There's a ton of more evidence and horrible info we would like the public to be aware of for their safety, but we're unable to disclose at this time. Without a doubt, Timothy Deshaun Taylor is the suspect in my daughter's disappearance and murder. My family and I will be following the FBI's request to keep specific details in our daughter's case under wraps until this horrible piece of trash goes to prison for life. After the guilty verdict, we will be happy to dispel these fairy tales that are being spun by Timothy's family. It is disgraceful the way this family and their friends are supporting and claiming innocence of a proven felon without even looking at the evidence presented and the facts surrounding the case. Also adding this piece of trash photo so everyone can see who he is. Please keep this family and our Brittanee in your prayers. If you're a podcast junkie like we are, you've probably considered starting your own. Whether you're looking for a new marketing channel, have a message you want to share with the world, or just think it would be fun to have your own talk show, podcasting is an easy, inexpensive, and fun way to expand your reach online. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners, and the team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. If you've ever considered starting a podcast, this is your sign. Start one. Follow the link in our show notes to let Buzzsprout know that we sent you, and you'll get a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan. All you need is a microphone and a quiet place. Listen, I'm literally on my bed with a blanket over my head talking to you right now. I promise it's easy and you can do it almost anywhere. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world and start your podcast today. As of 4 months ago, Horry County was ranked first in South Carolina for reports of human trafficking for the third straight year,
Oh, wow.
according to South Carolina's Attorney General Alan Wilson. And Horry County is a 36-minute drive from Brittany's hotel. There was a 15% increase in 2021 with a steady increase in the number of children and youth who have been identified as victims. If you have any information regarding the disappearance of Brittanee Drexel, please contact the Myrtle Beach Police Department at 843-918-1000 or call the FBI tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. A $25,000 reward is being offered by the FBI for information that leads to the arrest of those responsible. And her description, she's a Caucasian female born on October 7th, 1991 with brown hair and blue-green eyes. At the time of her disappearance, she had blonde highlights in her hair. She was 5 feet tall and weighs 103 pounds. She has pierced ears and nose. She wears blue-tinted contact lenses, and she was last seen wearing a white, teal, and gray, like spaghetti strap tank top, black shorts, and white or silver flip-flops. Candlelight vigils have been held in Brittany's honor in the hopes of keeping the case in the public eye. And her mom, Dawn, set up Brittany's Little Angels, which is a nonprofit organization that looks to shine a light on missing persons cases and those who have been forced into human trafficking. It provides long-term advocacy services as well as support for families of missing children and trafficking victims. And Dawn hopes to raise enough money through the organization that it can fund families in their search for their loved ones.
You know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't honestly know whether I should hope that she's still alive, which would mean she's been being trafficked since what, 2009? Or if it would be better for her if she was
Dead.
Her
not
family
alive.
believes she's dead.
That's the only thing I can see that is, at least they kind
Seems
of.
to make the most sense.
Well, yeah, and it kind of gives them just a tiny bit of like a closure, kind of like
I mean, yeah.
this is I mean, not like
that it kind of fits and makes sense,
Yes.
even though there's not a body or
Yeah.
evidence to put the people
Yeah.
away. In 2017, a memorial was set up in Rochester's David Park, where Brittany used to play soccer, and it was funded through donations from the public, and features a plaque underneath a cherry tree. In October of 2018, Dawn held a weekend retreat in Myrtle Beach for mothers who have either lost children or have missing children. And its aim was to encourage healing and growth by finding strength in numbers.
wow.
And Dawn's goal is to fight for legislation that will help families to keep their jobs while searching for missing children. And she aims to raise awareness and spread education by visiting schools and sharing Brittany's story. In the Dr. Phil interview, her mom straight up asks Peter, she's like, why didn't you drive her home? Why? It was a 5-minute drive. Why couldn't you drive her home instead of making her walk? But anyway, when she says, why didn't you drive her? He says, I was in spring break. Okay? Like, I wasn't there to babysit anybody.
Yeah, these fucking kids, man. Let me tell
Wow.
you something.
As anything, I'm from New York, Rochester. It's a 14, 15-hour drive. We were there for a whole week. Our checkout time was in the morning, Sunday morning. So we decided to leave at 2 o'clock because why would you want to leave Sunday in the middle of a day when it's a tourist town?
Had you already planned to leave that morning at 2 a.m.? Was that
Yeah.
something planned, or
Not
you
at
just?
home.
Yeah. And at that
You're
time,
planning on leaving at 5 or 6 a.m.
so you just were up and left anyway, huh?
We already pre-packed before we even went out that night to go to a party.
All right. Yeah, I'm here with Brittany's parents. Dawn, Chad, is there anything that you would like to
Dawn has a
ask this
parent.
young man? Dawn, go ahead.
Well, I had spoke with Peter that evening, as soon as I found out that Brittany was missing, okay? And, I mean, what he was telling me just didn't add up. I mean, he was giving me 3 different scenarios and things like that. And that's why, we thought he may know something. Because, I mean, any kind of friend, I don't care if you're a guy, I don't care if you're a girl, if you knew that Brittany was walking that far from one hotel to the other, if you're a gentleman, why wouldn't you walk my daughter to her hotel or drive her there, knowing it was dark out that night?
Can't even look.
And not only that, the kids that they were with, Jen and the other, Alana,
Oh my God,
I
he
mean,
can't keep his eyes up at all.
Yeah,
This
that
just
body
bothers
language
me
is really
because I
telling.
tried
Yeah.
to call them on the phone. Peter was working with me as far as trying to get them on the phone. They wouldn't answer my phone. So what did these kids want me or her father to think? I mean, it just doesn't look right. It's fishy.
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay. First of all, I did talk to Brittany about why she was walking the strip by herself. And earlier that day, she said, "Oh, for the last 3 nights, I walk by myself. Oh, it doesn't bother me. I'm fine." I'm like, well, I didn't even go anywhere by myself because it's pretty bad down there.
It's pretty bad, so
Second
I'm
of
gonna
all,
let you walk.
When she left her hotel, the sun was still up, and I offered her a ride, and she's like, "No, it's okay, it's okay," and she acted like there was no worry at all for her to walk all the way back again.
No way she
You
would
did
say.
offer her a ride.
He's
Yes.
full of shit.
The
He did not.
problem with this whole thing are all the innuendos.
Oh my God, lawyer.
But he took the
We're
time
done.
to do
Yeah,
her
and he
disappearance.
just has like he starts to get like an attitude
Yeah,
with her mom,
I-
and he gets very like, I was on spring break. It wasn't my job to babysit her, and she's like, you're supposed to be like friends with her, dude. Also, even if you're not friends with someone, like
You don't just.
I would walk a stranger home if
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And that's what I was thinking earlier was that, if these kids, club promoter Peter and the 2 girls, if they weren't involved, they're still really, really shitty, selfish, awful people.
Yeah, and they
Yeah.
haven't said a single thing. They both are like on Instagram
Because I
living
don't
their
think they give a
lives.
shit. Because they don't care. They didn't care about her, so they don't care
No.
if she's there. They don't care if she died.
Do you think that they had anything to do with it?
I mean, I don't. I don't know exactly what their motivation would be, other than if they just really hated her. But if they really hated her,
What if they did it for drugs?
That's exactly what I was just thinking.
I mean,
Peter,
Or money.
if you did.
I mean,
like-
that's possible too. I mean, it sounds like they set her up to be in a particular place for
like, if-
these guys to
If
snatch her.
Peter had something to do with
I
it,
think
and
Peter
like
had either owed them money or owed them something.
Yeah.
the girls also seem
or-
stupid enough to be like, all we have to do is bring her down there.
Yeah.
That's all we have to do, and then we could just pretend like nothing happened.
Yeah.
No conscience at all. Like I
Right,
feel like
yeah.
that's a way how you.
He knows so much more than he's
The fact
saying.
that he literally won't even make eye contact.
Yeah,
with her.
the whole time he will
So,
not look at her.
I get the feeling that he is more involved than the girls, but I think the girls know more than what they're saying.
Oh, for
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
I haven't said jack shit. Like, who have they been questioned? I couldn't find if they had been questioned. Like, what the
That's
fuck?
so weird. Usually, that's what you do.
It's a crazy story, eh?
This is a super crazy story.
It's so sad.
I know. It's a bummer.
It makes me want us to do a follow up on location,
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're really far from South
I don't want to go to Myrtle Vegas. I'm good.
Myrtle Vegas.
I don't ever need to
Yeah.
go back to Myrtle Vegas.
It is a crazy story.
I'm-
Buddy system.
I'm the most mad about all these fucking kids that took her on this and then put her in this situation. I mean, obviously, the other Vashon, but
Timothy Deshaun Taylor.
Tim
and then
is
Sean Taylor.
lying as well, but I just think he's highly medicated.
It is,
and
like-
so used to this life that he's
Well,
just like,
yeah,
nah.
and he would have been like 17 at the time of the abduction.
I mean,
Which
he grew up with this, obviously, with his dad,
I mean,
so
and,
it's
like,
just all he knows.
The thing is, again, there's no proof. There's just really suspicious behavior. So
Yeah.
everyone thinks that that's what happened. And alligators are fucking ruthless, and so are boar. They fucking eat you whole, man. So
are human traffickers when
Yeah.
they're put in a corner and they're like, oh.
So the FBI, they're like, we know that she was trafficked for at least a month.
If Tim wasn't a part of it, the dad was totally a bigger part then.
Does anybody think that she could possibly still be alive?
I mean, I'm sure that there are. Because there's no proof. Again, like there's obviously a chance that she could be alive, but
And still be being trafficked.
however, from the way that interview or the way that questioning looked was like we have a lot more like information than the public has right now.
Right.
It was very like
I'm sure
multiple
there's-
people and in-person witnesses.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure there's
first-hand
so much
accounts.
more because they can't.
So,
Which they won't
everything.
release because it's an ongoing investigation.
Yeah.
and I just want to be clear, his dad was never charged with that getting out of the van, picking up a girl situation.
Which is just like...
They said it was him, but like he had an alibi, so I just want to be clear. That was
Oh
alleged.
yeah, this is all alleged.
It was all alleged, but
alleged.
it's just
he
it
did
was quite the coincidence to have your dad also get in trouble.
Right.
For
It's just,
possibly.
Yeah, it's just too many.
Too many coincidences.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you can follow us on Instagram and email us.
There's a
and
crime.
Remember
who you are.
what you...
Represent.
Yeah.
And don't be an asshole. Take people home. Walk them home.
Buddy
or drive them
system.
home.
Yeah,
Always
buddy
be
system.
a buddy.
Always be a buddy.
Girls,
Don't
you
be a
know, it's a lot easier and you'll be a lot happier building each other up than trying to tear each other down.
And if you're having a hard time with girls right now, we understand.
Yeah.
You can write us.
It does get better. It does.
It does. I mean,
oh God, it does.
it does.
Also, leave us a 5-star review.
Yeah.
Give us 5-star.
Even if you don't care. Even
Even if you don't think
like
we're worth 5 stars, I would still like the review, please. That would be helpful.
Love you.
Peace.
Goodbye. Bye.
Peace. Bye.